I remember seeing the word Pro at the end of the MacBook lineups and knowing they were for performance. That kind of changed when the MacBook Air M1 was released. And this is because so many benchmarks and reviews that were done at that time showed that the M1 chip was faster than the majority of chips, including the Intel i7 lineups. Crazy, right? This meant that the MacBook Air M1 ended up blowing away any iteration of the MacBook Pro that had come before it. Then the MacBook Pro ended up getting the M1 chip, but it was the same speed. So most people, including myself, thought, what's the point of paying more for something that is bigger and heavier and that has the same chip inside of it? Well, the Pro lineups do have a fan which allows the M1 chip to throttle at a higher temperature. This means more performance. But the simple truth is that the MacBook Air M1 variant sold way more, and I think Apple realized this, and so they worked on the M1 Pro and the M1 Max chips. Both of these chips are stupendously powerful compared to Intel's chips and way more powerful than the M1, but have you seen those prices? Anyone who went for the MacBook Air M1, it was because of the value. I can do the same things that I want to, that I would do with an M1 Pro and an M1 Max chip with my MacBook Air M1. But would I still need the MacBook Air M1 in 2022? Would I still recommend this laptop to you? With rumours flying out that the MacBook Air 2022 version will have a faster M2 chip, should I sell my M1 in order to get it? What about people who are waiting for the M1 price to drop even further? Should they get the M2 processor instead? It doesn't stop, does it? Technology. There's always something coming out on the horizon. If I get the M2 MacBook Air, no doubt there'll be rumours flying about regarding an M3 variant. It's crazy. Unless you got cash lying around, the majority of people simply can't do this. Hence why I said I'd have to sell mine. I couldn't own two at the same time. If you're waiting to see if the MacBook Air M2 will do anything special before picking up a cheaper MacBook Air M1 model, then don't bother waiting. The rumours circulating are that the major performance improvements will be the chip itself, but apparently only a small increase, a 1080p camera, and a different unibody design, similar to what they already have on the Pros. I know I keep saying this with the Pro models, but they are simply far too expensive. Unless you are using them intensely and demanding performance out of them, then you don't need one. I've read loads of comments on places like Reddit saying that they need a high-performing CPU or 16GB of RAM, and it turns out all they're doing is keeping around 20 tabs open or more on Chrome. You can do that with an 8GB model. Make no mistake, the MacBook Pro lineup completely wipes out the MacBook Air M1 in terms of performance. My personal recommendation, however, is to go with the MacBook Air M1 model if you are doing the following: surfing or browsing the web, up to 30 tabs open, editing 4K movies, editing photos, streaming 4K movies, and compiling projects. And obviously light gaming, depending on what you're playing, because Apple's gaming lineup is quite awful. Now, if you're intending to do all of those tasks at the same time, be prepared to find the MacBook Air M1 struggling. It will do it all. It will just struggle, heat up, and just lock. If you want to do all of those at the same time, you need the Pro lineup, and obviously 8GB would not be enough. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe. The channel is slowly growing, and I'm appreciating the wonderful comments I've been receiving, the views. And until next time. That just sounds so good.